Mika Zibanejad helps the Rangers sweep the season series against the Tampa Bay Lightning as he fires a one-time slap shot past Andrei Vasilevsky with 16 seconds left in the game to give the Rangers a 2-1 win. That's a really gutsy effort by the Rangers. In a game which they held their own. This was not like a game where Igor stood on his head completely. This was a pretty even game. I didn't love the Rangers' first period, but they really responded, and this is just kind of what they've done all season, where just the game before, the Rangers lose a tough one where they gave up a goal with about 2:44 left. How do they respond? They win the next game with 16 seconds left, also a 2-1 game. So, look, Tampa Bay is no joke. I mean, as we know, that goes without saying, and the Rangers won all 3 games against them. Now, look, the first one was a game in the shootout, and so those really, honestly, could go either way. But that was in Tampa. Then the Rangers really dominated the Lightning at the Garden, and Shesterkin shutout and a Zibanejad hat trick. So Mika Zibanejad really made a big impact against Tampa. He had the shootout winner in the first game, the hat trick in the second game, and then this game winner in the third. So it's got to be a confidence builder for this team. Obviously, having Igor back there helps, of course, but these are the type of wins that I think Chris Drury looks at and says, all right, again, not making any unruly trades, but more like Frank Vetrano type deals. Maybe a little bit more than that, right? Not quite to that level, but maybe slightly more. We're giving up a little bit more, getting something a little bit better. Because, look, the Rangers, they can win these very tight, low-scoring games. There are still concerns, definitely, but I think a couple of moves here and there, to really improve that depth, and who knows? Right? I mean, I think it's going to be difficult, but why not? Like, when you're beating Tampa Bay in all 3 games, when you're beating the Panthers 2 out of 3, when you've already beaten Boston 2 out of 2, they're really doing well against the Atlantic. They beat the Maple Leafs 2 out of 3. They split against Washington, have lost the only game to Pittsburgh, and have lost the only game to Carolina. So there's a lot more to see within division. And speaking of that, the Rangers play Carolina tomorrow in a game in which I think Georgiev probably is the starter. We'll see when the time comes. It's not definite, but that's where I think it's going to head. And that's who faced Carolina last time, was Georgiev. So I think the Rangers have their hands full. If the Rangers somehow beat the Hurricanes tomorrow, that would be just an amazing win. I would be very happy. I'm not expecting it. Carolina's been struggling lately. They're hungry. Rangers are coming off of a very quick turnaround. This was an 8 o'clock ABC nationally televised game, and the Rangers play at 6 o'clock tomorrow against Carolina. It's a quick turnaround. Speaking of ABC, these camera angles are just insane. I said this for the Pittsburgh game, the recent Pittsburgh game where the Rangers lost 1-0, where they go with these aerial views where you just can't see shit. I hope that ESPN and ABC come playoff time, like, fans are going to freak out. I have to say, TNT just overall has been a much better product than ESPN and ABC. That's just my opinion. But I think TNT's done a really good job in studio, just the game, everything. And I think that ESPN's got a lot to work on. But it still had a fun, definite playoff feel with it being like a primetime Saturday game. And the Rangers showed up, and the Ranger fans were out in full force in Tampa. That's the thing. Like, the Rangers somehow, because the Capitals are making a bit of a push, there is a possibility the Rangers could drop out of the 2-3. I still think that it's going to be Rangers-Penguins, but with that comes the chance to maybe play the Panthers. And I kind of to me, I'd rather play the Panthers than the Penguins. And not all would agree with that, but that's just my opinion. But as far as this game, same lineup for the Rangers as the last game. Julien Gauthier scratch again. That's what you're going to see moving forward, I think, a lot. And the Rangers, it wasn't a great start. It wasn't one of the classic, oh my God, like they look like they're skating in mud. It wasn't one of those. It's just Tampa generally had the better of the play in the first period. I would say the beginning of that period was Tampa and the end was Tampa. The middle, the Rangers kind of did okay. And the Rangers had an early power play. 5:50 in, Victor Hedman gets called for a delay game penalty. So the Ranger power play in this one, it was a major struggle and was going to be, if the Rangers lost this game, was going to be my starting point. The Rangers going into this game, I believe, 27% efficiency on the power play, which was good for second in the NHL. Eventually, it all works out, but oh boy, was it bad early. The first power play, I guess, might have actually been one of their better ones because some of those middle power plays were just brutal. But the Rangers don't score. Then Patrick Nemeth takes a penalty at 15:40. It's an interference penalty. And I want to say this, Patrick Nemeth, it was a rough game for Nemeth. The Nemeth-Schneider pair was a bit of a liability. I liked what I saw from the top four. I really do. I thought that they did a really good job of handling things, specifically K'Andre Miller, Jacob Trouba. I have to say, I really am impressed by what I've seen from that pair specifically. I almost give them the slight edge over Lindgren Fox in terms of the last, let's just say since the All-Star break. It may even go beyond that. It probably does go beyond that. But yeah, Nemeth Schneider, I don't know how I feel about that. I think, and it's easy to pile on Nemeth, but Schneider his mistakes are way more acceptable. He's a very young defenseman, but still, I feel like his game has slipped a bit. So I don't know. There's a chance the jury does try to tinker with the defense. I would not be shocked if that comes to fruition. But like I said, Nemeth takes that penalty, and it leads to a power play goal by Braden Point. Assist to Killorn and Hedman. This was an unfortunate goal where Shesterkin kind of has it under him. It was loose, but he didn't know where it was, and he was kind of moving his head. It was obvious that he didn't know where it was. And sometimes the refs will blow that dead. The officials will stop play there. But I think what maybe caused them to continue was the fact that Igor kind of was unsure. I feel like if somehow he faked it or whatever the case might be, and he was just solid, they may have just blew it off. But the play continued, and Braden Point kind of saw it and poked it through. So a bit of an unfortunate break. I understand the way that it was called, but you do see that sometimes get the whistle. But Tampa Bay takes a 1-0 lead, and the Rangers were lucky because then Tampa Bay kept on going, but Shesterkin held it at 1-0. Second period, the Rangers were definitely better. Barclay Goodrow is hooked, former team, Goodrow, of course, with the Tampa Bay Lightning. He's hooked by Ross Colton. And then before the power play's out, and the Rangers had a chance on this one, I remember. Just overpassing by Panarin at that point, he's passing it to fucking Ryan Strome in the corner. I mean, it was like a kind of a mini 3-on-1. He had Kreider to his left, Strome to his right, and Panarin passes it to Strome. Strome passes it back to Panarin, and Panarin shoots it wide. Panarin's goal scoring has been a little bit underwhelming this year. He's got a few empty net goals. He's always going to be good for assists, but Panarin's goal scoring has been a little bit down, and I'm sure it's nothing. But yeah, I just feel like since Strome got brought up, it's tough. I mean, he has such a big role on this team, but I feel like the Rangers would be better off without him. I really think. I hope that all roads lead to Ryan Strome not being back with the Rangers next year, regardless of anything else. Even if it puts you in a tough spot at center, I just don't think it's worth having Ryan Strome back here next year. And I really would, if somehow Chris Drury dealt him by this Monday deadline in some sort of shrewd deal, kind of looking ahead, even if it kind of did set you back a little bit for this year, I think that'd be a great thing to do, but it probably won't happen. Anyway, Adam Fox takes a hooking penalty, so there's a little bit of 4-on-4. Nothing comes of that. Then Braden Schneider, interference penalty, and the Rangers are able to kill that off. And then the Rangers tie it up at 9:25. It's a goal, the 10th of the season, ties a career high for Jacob Trouba. And that Trouba goal, that's the type of goal that you're going to need to score in the playoffs, right near the net. A goal where there's a lot of commotion. Dryden Hunt did a really good job of, kind of getting in Vasilevsky's grill a little bit. Lafreniere takes the shot. Lafreniere was on at that point. I think because of the fact that there had been a lot of penalties, it worked out where it was Lafreniere with Heedle and Hunt at that moment, and Trouba scores. And the play actually gets challenged for goalie interference, but that was clean. Hunt did a really good job. He didn't go over the line. I was a little surprised that John Cooper tried to challenge. He did unsuccessfully, which led to a Ranger power play, but of course, the way this game was going, the Rangers did nothing on it. But speaking of Hunt, Heedle, and then as well Goodrow, that was a good line. Dryden Hunt out of the top six is good. Dryden Hunt in a third or fourth line role, probably more of a fourth line role, that's completely fine. Like, I have no problem with Dryden Hunt being in the lineup. Whereas Julian Gauthier, look, he's got to be a healthy scratch, in my opinion. Dryden Hunt, it's a little bit different. Like, there is a role there, in a grinding role. And I thought he did a good job with Goodrow. And Philip Heedle, while the points may not be plentiful lately, I like what I've seen from him. He's getting into the tougher areas. He's battling hard along the boards. He just looks better, and that's encouraging. Heedle it's been an improvement from where it was. So that third line has been giving them some pretty good ice time. So like I said, the Rangers tie up, and then they don't score on that power play. And then you have a situation where Pat Maroon, basically behind the net, roughs up Igor Shesterkin. Lindgren kind of got away with a bit of a high stick on Maroon. I don't know why he did that. It was a bit lazy, but give Lindgren credit. He went right after Maroon. Maroon's a bigger guy than Lindgren, and what Maroon did was absolutely a penalty, and it was. And Lindgren went in there, and he held his own and defended Shesterkin. Maybe we wouldn't have seen. I mean, I think Lindgren always has had that in him, so it's not so fair to say that. But this team has fought for one another, and when someone gets hit unnecessarily, someone's going to step in, and that's all you could ask for. So Lindgren and Maroon both get roughing penalties, and then Maroon gets the goalie interference call, but the Rangers' power play fails, as that was a huge theme of this game. Then Alex Killorn hooks Mika Zibanejad with a minute left in the period. That is also unsuccessful going into the third. So we're tied going into the third. The Rangers are normally good tie going into the third. The Rangers also, by this win, increase their comeback after first period wins. I think it had been 9, now it's 10. The Rangers have had that ability where, and what they've been good at is in tie games going to the third, they almost always win them, which is why the Islander game was a bit of a one-off. But the Rangers came back and they did what they do in this game. So it was a weird instance where I felt like in 5-on-5, the Rangers held their own, but the special teams was what was killing them. They gave up the power play goal to Tampa, and their own power play couldn't do anything. It was pretty weird. In the third, Ryan Reeves fights Pat Maroon, and that makes sense. Otherwise, why? Ryan Reeves, Pat Maroon has to answer the bell. He does, and Reeves got the best of him in the fight, but that's what needs to happen. Otherwise, really, to me, what's the point of Ryan Reeves being in the lineup if he's not going to do that in that situation? And then, a lot of back and forth action in the third. The Rangers did pretty well, I think, for a good majority of it, but Tampa had their chances. Igor had to make some good saves. And with 2:15 left, Eric Chernak high sticks Chris Kreider. So the Rangers have a power play with 2:15 left. And initially, that first unit does nothing. The second unit comes on, and then there's a whistle. And I think Ray Ferraro was the one that said, and it sounds better than what was probably in reality. He says Mika Zibanejad kind of gave Gallant a look, hey, let's put us, our first unit back on the ice, and Gallant does. And what ends up happening is, as the power play is about to expire, Artemi Panarin makes an absolutely great feed from right to left to Zibanejad's spot, and Zibanejad just absolutely blasts it past Vasilevsky. One-timer, slap shot, 25th goal of the season for Zibanejad, assist to Panarin and Fox, because they get a million power play assists. But Zibanejad comes up big in the clutch. Just a big moment, for this Ranger team. Really, one of the bigger moments of the season. Just a very, very as clutch as it gets. A huge goal for Zibanejad. I'm thinking we're going to overtime, but he seals the deal right there. And the Rangers win 2-1. a very exciting win against the two-time defending Stanley Cup champs, and they had just acquired Brandon Hagel from the Blackhawks in a very big deal. So there was a lot of excitement going in for Tampa. They've been playing very well lately, and so it's wins like this that really do catch your eye. That they can win like this, even though they lost that game to Pittsburgh 1-0, but they played at times pretty well in that game. A bounce here, a bounce there, kind of like the Islander game. I mean, the team felt like they played well, and I would agree. The Islander game did not play badly. Sorokin played a really good game, and it just didn't work out. So if the Rangers continue to play like this, they're going to give themselves a chance to win every night. So with that all being said, the Rangers go to Carolina in what I think is going to be probably even though coming off this great win, it's going to be the odds are stacked against them. Now, if Igor plays, that changes the outlook. But if we assume Georgiev is in there, even if Igor plays, I think you still have problems against Carolina. Honestly, you put Georgiev in there, I don't see how they have a chance. I just don't. I'm sorry. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes. Expectations are low, but really the hope for me was somehow splitting these two games. And as I mentioned last episode, I felt like this Tampa game was the more likely one to get, and they get it. So Rangers sweep the 3 games against the Lightning this year. Very unexpected, but really, really impressive. So Rangers win. Mika Zibanejad, the hero tonight.